करो यस नहीं नहीं हाँ, अब आ गए आप रुको आप लाइव पे क्लिक कर लो आप वो लाइव कर लो
Okay.
आग भैया आग आग हुआ आग
Okay. Cool. Is the voice clear now? Hello. Hi everyone. Sorry for the issues. I think now it is clear. Is the voice clear now? Hello. Yeah. Santosh, Zahid, is the voice clear now? Everyone is able to hear me? Okay, great, great. So I'll just go about everything again. So I was just telling that Spring Boot, if we are learning Spring Boot, so the very first thing is, what is this Spring thing? So Spring Boot is, you can say, just an, I'm just giving a very naive definition. It's just an upgradation of the pre-existing Spring framework, and this Spring framework had a lot of core concepts that were present, and these core concepts and these core concepts and these core concepts are the most important thing in order to go through the Spring Boot thing. Okay, so Spring Boot is derived from the Spring and its core concepts. Now if someone says Spring, the very first thing that should come into his mind is this dependency injection framework. So Spring is a dependency injection framework. I'll just quickly tell everyone that what is a, yeah, Santosh, we'll go about that as well. Just quickly, I'm just giving everyone a heads up that how everything in Spring works. Okay, so just be a little patient. It will be quite easy for everyone. Okay, so that is how things will work. Cool. Now, up till now, everyone is pretty clear about the things. So this is the first thing that I want to explain to you, that what is a Hmm. Yeah, I'll just share my screen again. I think it was some network issue. Okay, and this dependency injection framework is very widely used in the IT industry right now. The code bases of Amazon, the code bases of Cred, the big banking giants like D Shaw, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, all of these companies, let's say, use Spring Boot as their uh, backend, as in order to build microservices and all of the stuff. Okay, so it is absolutely very important. Let's say if you want to grow in the backend domain, it is very important to learn about the Spring Boot framework or the Spring core. Obviously, if you want to learn Spring Boot, then obviously you need to go through the very basics of Spring, and in Spring there are certain core concepts that you need to learn very rigorously, religiously, in order to be good at this framework and in order to be a good backend developer and a successful developer. So just knowing things is not important. Application wise things should be very clear. So that is our point number one. So what it is, it's a dependency injection framework. So this is, let's say, clear. Now, what is this dependency, and certain terms I'll just tell you about dependency. Okay, I'll just clean up my board and just give you a heads up of what actually is this dependency. So this dependency is nothing but uh, this dependency is nothing but, let's say, uh, why this dependency injection framework? Because let's say I have to build a microservice. Let's say I am building the microservice of Zomato, Ola, Uber, any bigger thing. So it will be having certain objects, it will be having certain classes. So objects in the Spring world, you can just refer them to as a keyword known as beans. There are a lot of beans present. Okay, there are a lot of beans present. So all of those beans are having lots of interrelation between both of. So sometimes when we are developing some system, so there are lots of objects, because it's such a big database, heavy database user. Okay, it's such heavy database that obviously the code gets very much complicated. So in order to make the development easy, this Spring framework was, let's say, used. So that is our point number one. That is our second point. First is dependency, and now I have just told you that what is a dependency injection and on what factor. So if I tell Spring, so Spring gives us the advantage of dependency injection. So I tell that this class, this object is depending on these things. So all of those things are resolved by Spring. So I just tell Spring that you need to take care of all of these things. That is the whole idea. And if I, let's say, if I want to let's say that no, we have I have, let's say, this class present, I have a car class present, and the car class is, let's say, dependent on some certain different classes. So all of those things will be taken care by Spring itself. Nothing else we will be, let's say, taking. Okay, so that is one such thing. Now let's say uh, there are uh, certain things when we build a web app. So what happens, let's just go about them, and then we'll just study the our micro project or mini project, you can say. So first, second, third. So this is the web layer. I'm just telling, this is the web layer, this is the business layer, this is the business layer or the logical layer, this is the data layer. Okay, so web layer is, you can say, the front end part of things. So in the advanced Java world, JSP was used, JSP servlet, MVC, all of these things. Angular, let's say, is used in all of these things. Business layer or the logical layer is governed by Spring, and the data layer is, let's say, used for the data manipulation. So with the help of Spring, we take care of this thing, this layer. So that is where the Spring concepts are, let's say, used. Now after this diagram, there is a very major thing that I just want to tell everyone. So that major thing is, let's say, first we got to know that Spring is a dependency injection principle. If something is dependent on a variety of things, it will be taken care by Spring itself. We don't need to do anything explicitly. Okay, so there are certain annotations. So annotations, I'll just tell you briefly what are annotations. So annotations are you can say they are certain kind of keywords that are used in our project. So we'll just go about that project first. So what we will be, let's say, building. Okay, I'll just erase this, and just let's just go about and just check that what all things are present. Okay, so uh, the very first thing is, let's say, we will create API endpoints. We will create API endpoints. Let's say, and in which we can give certain properties. We'll give it certain properties, let's say some id, some title. Okay, and so basically it's a to do or a task manager kind of app. So it's a task manager in which we can let's say see all the tasks that we are, let's say, doing. And we can obviously at the same time we can build different things. We can, let's say, add different things, and we can let's say delete as well. So I'll just tell you how to add it, how to see what all tasks, and delete will be a part of assignment. I'll give you her whole idea of how everything will work, but no, you have to just try it yourself. It will be very easy. So that will be the whole thing. So in order to, let's say, initialize a spring project, first we need to go to this page. So it's the spring initializer. Okay, this is the spring initializer. I'll just ping this link in the chat as well. Okay, so start spring. So this is the thing. So once I go to this page, you can see that it's the spring initializer. So in this we have a lot of projects. So this portion is the build tool. This Maven is the build tool. So I'll just select Maven is as a build tool. Language I'll select as Java. Spring Boot version you can select as of let's say you can select 3.0.7. Okay, here you need to write whatever project name you need to make. Let's say to do app. Okay, to do app, something like this. You can use Java 11. Here we add the dependencies. So I told you that spring is all about adding dependencies. It's all about adding dependencies. So if I want to add certain dependencies, so first let me add the spring web dependency. So if I go to spring web, so it says that building RESTful API, because obviously we are making API endpoints with the help of it. So this spring web I have added. So let's use some different kind of database. So let's use a h2 database. H2 database is very similar. It's a SQL kind of database, as you can see. So it provides us in memory database fast access. That suppose JDB. So JDBC is uh, we can say is it is used for the database connection and stuff. So we added this, and let's add a spring jpa thing. So a spring jpa is just like, you can say, it's you can say there were certain cons of using the jdbc. So the spring jpa came, and it is having uh, the better use cases can be governed with the help of the same. It's just like an upgradation. Like there was some of the some flaws present, or certain more complications present. So after that, let's say when jpa was built, all the complications were easy. And obviously all of these upgradations, like we have phone upgradation, so all of these things are upgradations. Okay, all of these things are upgradations. So are these 3 points clear? These three dependencies that we are used, is it clear? H2 database is a very simple database. You can say that it is it is a rdbms kind of thing. It is written in java, so mostly in java related apps we use it. It's just a database like uh, mongodb or mysql, anything. So I just wanted to give you a heads up of a new database. So everything that will be used will be of SQL only. Okay, that is the thing. Okay, and JPI, I'll just explain you the difference between JPI and JDBC. So obviously JDBC, it's allowing developers to, let's say, go for more construct database driven java. Means it's more using the object oriented kind of thing in the spring jpa. So it is, let's say, a more easier version to work for us as a developer. That is why most of the developers use this. Yeah, we'll use postman as well. I'll just we'll just use postman as well. Okay. So let's say once we are done with all of this, we can just create on generate this folder. Okay, so this zip file will be generated, and we will, let's say, extract it. I already have a folder created of the same, and that is why I'll just use that one only. So you can just create all of the things with the help of this. Up till this point, everything is clear. Santosh, Manish, everyone, is it clear? You can just write yes in the chat quickly, everyone. Are things clear? Are things clear? We'll just begin with the actual coding part right away after this. Okay, quickly. So everyone has the IntelliJ ID. So I'll just give you the IntelliJ ID as well. So IntelliJ download, if you just need to write it on Google, and you just go here and just download the community version of this. So I'm just giving you the link of this as well. Great. So you can just use the above link to download all of these things. Cool. So I think most of the things are done. Great. Now let me just share my IntelliJ page ID. Just a second. Hmm. String data JPA means it's string data JPA, right? I did not get your question. Can you just write it once again with a little more clarity? Santosh? Cool. So yeah, so in order to build our, so when we will, let's say, just open it with our app, so this will look like something like this. So I have created a package with the name demo, and it will have a spring app here and all of these things. Let me just quickly erase them. Yeah. So all of these things will be present, and you will be having a spring boot application like this present over here. So inside this, what you need to make is, you need to make three folders. You can make a controller, you can make a model, and you can make a code folder, or you can make just, I'll just rename it to repo. Okay. So this is the thing. So first thing is we have to create no a main class, a main class. Okay, we have to create a main class here, that will, let's say, help us run all the different portions. So what that main class will be, how it will look like, it will be very simple. We just need to write public, how we create main in Java: public static void main, and inside main, this screen is visible to everyone. You need to know the basics of obviously the core Java in order to learn that. But yeah, just focus on whatever I'm building right now. You In the starting as well, I explained no the different concept of string. So yeah, so we just made a main function, public static void main string ours. This is the general syntax, and here what we need to write, we need to write spring application. This will be present for all the things. Dot run, and here what we want to run, this is our to do application class. So I'll just write to do application, to do application dot class comma args, means the arguments, and just give it a semicolon. So this is how our main class will be made, and by giving this class, it will help us run all the different portions. It will be easily run. Now let's try to build the model. Let's try to build the, or let's just first create the controller, in which we will define API endpoints, so just create a package. Just go right click on it, and just go to this, just search for, see, this package comes here. Once you click on this, you will be able to create a controller. Okay, since I have already created to save time, so I'll just use this. So I'll just remove all of this code. Okay, and yeah, we'll just see all the different mappings that will be present. So let's just remove this, and let's just remove this as well. Okay, so once I create this to do controller class. I click on this and I create a new let's say Java class, and that class name we can give it any let's say name that you want. So here I have just given it as to do controller, as to do controller. Clear? So in this to do controller, it will be a rest controller. It will be a rest controller. So this is our first annotation that we have used. So we have used a rest controller. So if I just hover over this rest controller, so it's an annotation that is telling us that this is a RESTful API service. It's a RESTful API service. Okay. So whenever we have to make any RESTful service, we have to make use of RESTful controllers. Is this thing clear? Yes, yes, we will use Spring Data GPA. Is this thing clear to everyone, Santosh and everyone? Okay, cool. So this is the first thing. So this is an annotation. So all the things that will start with @ will be an annotation. After this, once we have defined that this is a REST controller, we have to map it. We have to map it. Map to what? The endpoint. We have to map the whole controller to a endpoint. Okay. So for that, we are using request mapping. So there will be a specific endpoint for that, no? So let's just use that. So we'll write request mapping. We'll write request mapping, and we will give it value as, let's give it as to do. So this is our request that is being mapped to this to. So this REST controller now goes to the to do map. Okay, clear to everyone? Great. This is clear. Now let's create no in this in this no in this repo we had created this application. And let's say once this repo is created, so here what I'll do is I'll just use no this word, this thing. I'll just use so I'll just create a package again with the same format and just create this thing. Yeah, so I'll just create an interface of JPA. So what is JPA? That is used for injecting the advanced Java JPA features into our Spring MVC or our Spring Boot application. So we created an interface. So mostly interfaces are created for creating the repo, and in this all the data manipulation and every, it is just extending the JPA functionalities. Okay, so for that I can just write no this thing. So it is the to do repo. It will extend the JPA repository. It will extend. So extend is just we have these functionality built, and on top of these there are certain additional functionalities that will be taken care by JPA directly. So what I'll just write as JPA repository. And when I hover over this, you can just see no, we have to give what? We have to give it two parameters. So here the two parameters will be what should be stored? The to do item and your id is long. Okay, that is it. This is the only use of interface as of now. Now let's go back to the controller. That is, now let's go back to, so in any JPA related work you have to use this in the same way. Okay, we have to use this in the same way. Now let's go back to the to do controller. So to do controller, we have seen all of these things. Now what I'll do is I'll create a private variable. So it will be having private to do repo, and that will be to do repo. So can anyone tell what is it? What is this thing? Can anyone quickly tell what is this thing? We created this to do repo, no? So this is just, we are just making use of this functional, this interface here. Correct? Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, I hope is it that is clear. Okay. Now let's see. Now let's just see. Uh, this is clear. Now we'll make use of an annotation here that will be auto wired. So auto wired is a very very important annotation. Why it is important annotation? Because it we are inheriting, we are, let's say, using some dependency. What is that dependency? That dependency is your JPA. So we have to make use of auto wired. Auto wire is just enabling the automatic dependency injection. Okay, this is used to enable the automatic dependency, that this is a dependency of the that thing, of that particular object or being, whatever you. Okay, after this what we can make use of, what we'll do, we'll just create a get endpoint. So I'll write public list. Obviously it will be a list of to do's, it can be one or more to do's, so all of them will be to do item. And what I'll write here is find all. This is my function name, and it will return, let's say, to do repo dot find all. Okay, this is the default function in. And what annotation it will be used here, what annotation, I'll just give it a get mapping, because this is a get mapping. Clear? So get is just used to fetch the different results. Now after this I'll create another function that will be uh, public to do item save, and it will have a to do item and a small to do item. Okay, and what it will have, it will have to do repo dot save to do item, that is. Okay, and here I'll use an annotation that is request body. So obviously if I am, let's say, making use, if let's say I am making use of let's say some kind of if obviously I want to give it some body, that will be present. So in post request what we do, we somewhat update certain kind of things. So we are just updating all of these things. Okay, we are updating all of these things. So this is created, and obviously if it should not be null, so we are adding not null annotation here as well. So why is it used? So not, it is non-null. So non-null is just used so that no, there is, it is not empty. Uh, uh, l- the request that we are sending should not be empty, because we need to do certain kind of updation as well. No, we need to do certain kinds of update, and also we can add it as validated. So it is a validated request. So these three annotations, let's say, we have just used, and we just write here return. Okay, so this is our mapping, and after this so what kind of mapping it will be? It will be a post mapping. Post, done. This is a post mapping. Till now is it clear to everyone? Any doubts? Clear? Okay, great. Cool, guys. Next is your making of the database. So for that, let's say, yeah. Just I have just written this line to, let's say, because I'll just provide this code as well to everyone. So next is your model creation. So model is how the all the things will be present in the database. Okay, mapping in the database, you can say. So what annotation I'll give it? I'll give it annotation as entity. So this is used for the DB thing that I just mentioned. That is the second thing. That is the first thing that is here. The second thing is, let's just create all the mappings here now. Okay. So every item will have its private ID, private long ID. Okay, private long ID and public string title. Okay, public string title. That is the other thing. After that, obviously an id is a primary key, so I'll give it a id annotation, and I'll give it a generated value annotation. So generated value, it is just like, you can say, no, if we want it to automatically generate the private keys value, let's say when we will hit the API, you will see that automatically 1 2 3 all of those things will be allocated to it with the help of this only. Okay. Yeah, correct, Nikhil. So it will have an id, it will have a title, and then it will have a public boolean done, whether the task is done or not. So that is the second thing. Now let's create a constructor. So we can obviously create getters and setters by this shortcut present in IntelliJ. So we can just click on generate and we can just create getters, setters, and everything. But I'll just write it down very quickly. But I'll just show you how the constructor is created, then we can write the rest of the things. So let's just create a constructor. Okay. Okay. So this is, let's say, this is created, and one like this as well, without any. Okay. So this is our constructor that is here. Then we can obviously make use of, we can just create getters and setters as well. But I'll just quickly write them down so that no, you guys understand. So there is set ID. Set ID will return what? ID. Uh, so this will be the get ID. Set will be after this. So get ID will return this ID. Okay. And this will be long because we have created this long. Now public uh, void set ID. Set ID will have long ID, and it will set the thing. It will have public. So get title. Get title will return the title. Similarly, we'll create public void set title, and it will have the string title, and string title it will, let's say, set this thing, this dot title is equals to title. This is done. Okay. The set title is done. After this, we'll create a getter setter for the done thing. So public boolean is done. So we'll just return the done, and then public void set done. So it will have boolean done, and it will set this dot done. So this is done. We can just generate them with the help of the getters and setters as well. So that is totally about how we, let's say, use all of these things. Okay. So this is our, uh, you can say, the to do item, the whole thing. Let's remove this comment as of now. So yeah, so all of these things are, let's say, now present. Okay. Now let's say, once this is created, after this, let's see that what all things are more required to, let's say, get the different now obviously we'll just, if I just see the title, so title of the to do is most important, so I'll just give it annotation as not null, because obviously without the to do thing, it will, let's say, not be used. Okay, that is the other thing. It's cool. So this is, let's say, this whole portion is, let's say, completed. So our model is, let's say, completed. Our repository is also completed. Let's just go and just see the controller portion. So if I just go to the controller, I just see that, yeah, all of these things are present, and I'll just try to figure out that, no, what all type of things are can be, let's say, used now. What all different kind of things can be, let's say, used as of now. Yeah. So for all of them, let's just say that, no, okay. So all this, you can just say, see that, no, everything is now fully done. So we have created these endpoints, and this is the post mapping, this is this mapping, each and everything is, let's say, any doubts till now? Any doubts? Everyone, first you have to tell me the doubts, then, no, we'll just see the different things. Quickly ask your doubts, everyone. Any doubts, guys? Anyone having any of the doubts? Okay. So I'll just share the Postman screen now. So everyone should have Postman in. present with them. And yeah, this is my Postman. So I have just created a bundle of Spring APIs. So this is my Spring APIs bundle. Postman is visible to everyone, no? So Postman is mostly used to let's say, get everything going in there. So if I am just let's say making use of Spring, then mostly Postman is the thing that I'll just look forward to. So for any API kind of let's say manipulation, we let's say make use of Spring, and no, according to that, everything is, let's say, easily let's say taken. Everything is very easy with the help of Postman. So it's just API testing kind of thing. So whenever we have created some API or we want to test it out, then we have to, let's say, make use of Postman. Okay. So that is the thing. So that is the thing. So so mostly that is the thing. uh, so if I, let's say, want to make use of Postman in order to do the different things, so how will that work? So that will be work with everything that we have created. Just one thing, I'll just go to my IntelliJ once again. No, yeah, I'll just go to that IntelliJ part once again. And here, what we need to do is, here we need to run this app. So there is a run button here. So I'll just go to this place. I'll just click on this, or either you can directly use it from there. So you can say that, no, our Spring Boot application is getting initialized, and it will be running at 8080 port. It will be running at 8080 port. Okay, it will be running at 8080 port. So if I just scroll it down, see, that started to do application in 5 point this second. So this is the processing time. So my to do application is now fully started. Now I'll just share my uh, Postman screen again. Okay, so if I just go to Postman and I hit this URL, if I go to Postman and I hit this URL, so initially what should be it? It's let's say this is my get API, and I'll just remove all of this. So initially, when I just hit on this URL, it gives me an empty list, because right now no to dos are, let's say, added. Right now no to dos are, let's say, added. Okay, right now no to dos are added. If I hit on this post API and I give it some title, if I give it some title, uh, and just make it to JSON, and if I give it some title, let's say, like, first to do is watching movies, and I just hit a request. So see, ID is given to it. Okay, and this is given. Okay, now if I go to get and hit this thing, you can see that this is a JSON that is present. Now let's again go to the post request, and I give it, let's say, learning RESTful service using Spring. Okay, and again I hit it. Automatically, see, the generated ID value, that thing that I told you, is now fully working. Automatically ID2 is given to it. And again, if I just go to here and click on this get request, so see, these two to dos are present to me. These two to dos are present to me. Okay, similarly I can give it a third one as well. Let's give it a third one. Let's just remove this, and uh, let's just write in playing cricket. Okay, playing cricket. I hate it. Three is allocated to it. Okay, three is allocated to it. And again, if I go and hit a get request, see, these four to dos are present over. Is this clear to all? Everyone, is it clear? Quickly tell me. Quickly, everyone tell me. Please reply in the chat if it is clear to everyone. Everyone, please reply. So like this, we can, let's say, make the RESTful API services with Spring Boot. Spring Boot has a lot of concepts. It is very vast. So you need a very dedicated part to learn all of those things. So that is our point number one. The second point is, let's say, if I want to make some of the different things with uh, Spring Boot, or certain things with Spring Boot, then I need to learn the Spring Core concepts. So Spring Core concepts are very, very important. So that is another portion. Okay, so yeah, everything should be pretty super clear. I told everything in a very step by step process. I was asking continuously for everyone, up regarding all of the stuff. So mostly I think things would be clear. I'll just share this code repo as well. I'll update in the description in some time. Any doubts, guys? Anything that is not clear, or that is clear? Anything that you want to ask or something like that, so you can just ask in the chat. Else, I think we are good to go. Hmm. Okay. I think yeah, that is pretty much of what I wanted to discuss. Uh, this was a demo, you can say, kind of app where it is, let's say, making use of different things, and we are, let's say, evaluating different parameters of using the Spring thing. Yeah. Any doubts, you can just reach out to me. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. I'll just update the code in some time.